According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, parents have a significant influence in their children's decisions to experiment with alcohol and other drugs.
And now actually is the perfect time to have this talk because studies have actually shown that American teens are more likely to try drugs for the first time during the summer. And as children grow into young adults, the conversation surrounding drug use should evolve with them. So here to help us navigate those conversations, licensed clinical social worker and author of Myself, Kelly Kitley. Kelly, as always, it is great to see you. And really, I guess the centering conversation is like, when should we start this conversation with our kids?
Oh my gosh, it is never too early. You know, between the three of us, Vicki and Morgan, we have 7 children, all at opposite ends of the spectrum and somewhere in between. And as early as 2 years old, we can start talking to our toddlers about, medication they might be taking if they're running a fever, or I know some parents may give their kids some sleep aids like melatonin. And so we really want to make sure that we are letting them know prescribed medication versus recreational drugs. We want to keep an open and honest and genuine approach with our kids. Don't take a lecturing approach where we're this all-knowing directive. This is so different from when we were growing up. Kids are exposed to so many more substances than we ever were. And it's also important to make sure that you continuously have this conversation. I know for our kids who are in middle school, high school, and college, we touch base on this at the beginning of the summer because they do have a lot more freedom and downtime than that structure with school.
And as they get older, they are hanging out with their peers more than they may be at home with mom and dad. Kelly, I'm hearing you say just say no is not going to be enough. That's not going to cut it. So give us some introductory, sentences to open up this conversation as our kids get older.
Please. So we want to get curious. We want to role play with our kids. How would you respond if somebody offered you a drug or a drink? We want to make sure that we're modeling positive, healthy coping mechanisms for our kids as well. A lot of times we'll grab a drink and say, oh, I had such a hard day. I want to take the edge off. We really want to make sure that we are educating about the physical harm, the emotional harm, the different mental states. If you are noticing that your child is having erratic behavior or is isolating or hanging out with a different crowd, or maybe they're even struggling financially with the money that you're giving them and they're overspending, we want to check in with them. It is an uncomfortable conversation to have with our kids sometimes, but don't let that be a reason that you don't check in with them and keep a pulse on it.
What if you suspect that your kid is experimenting or trying something out on the side? I mean, how do you sort of make sure that you are at least maintaining the boundaries? Because I get that we want to be, open, we want to start a conversation, but
Sure.
we're not their peers, right? We're their parents. So how do we sort of, open the conversation, but maintain really healthy boundaries?
Well, and when this is life or death, right? So we do need to sometimes cross that boundary if our kids are under 18. The conversation we have with our young adults versus our high school or middle school kids is very different. And we can bring forth concrete evidence that we're noticing about a change in their behavior. Ask them who they're hanging around with.
Thank you so much. I hate to interrupt you. Thank you for